Hi everyone, I'm Kristen, and today I'm going to be talking to you about why college students should be able to have a pet in their dorm if necessary. So, I was reading the New York Times, and they were talking about what animals can do for anxiety and depression. And with that on the uprise and being a lot more prevalent on college campuses today, the New York Times stated that anxiety, followed closely by depression, has become a growing diagnosis among college students in the last few years. The calming effect of some domesticated animals has become so widely accepted that many schools bring trained therapy dogs to play with stressed students during exam periods. And this is something I definitely agree with because having gone through depression and anxiety over the summer, it was definitely a calming sense when I was with my dog, and luckily I did go through it at home, so I did have my dog everywhere that I went, almost everywhere that I went. And, people deal with anxiety and depression different ways. With me, it was with my dog and with medication and therapy. With some people, it's exercise. Other people, it's meditation, or a lot of people have their own way of coping with it. But for the students that can't figure out that way to do something, or medication doesn't work, or therapy doesn't work, most of the time it is something that something like having a cat or a dog, or sometimes even a hamster or a bird, to have that sense of companionship to ease their anxiety and help them get through things. But a lot of questions arise with things like students who are allergic, or things like responsibility and where the animal should be allowed, and how students will manage all of that plus coursework. And I do think that it is something to consider with people being allergic and whatnot, but I do think that that is something that the university can get around. People are allergic to things like peanut butter and peanuts, but they are exposed to it in the cafeterias sometimes. So it's just something that I think that if you are paying tuition, the university should be able to figure out. And I was reading another website, it's called welcomepup.com, and they asked, do you think having a dog as a roommate would make students less anxious about living away from home? And 54% of those people said yes, because dogs are family. Dogs do give you unconditional love and a sense of loyalty and companionship. And their anxiety did lessen because they were away from home with someone who felt like home. 30% said yes, dogs offer unconditional love, and their calming presence relieves anxiety. 8% said maybe, as long as the dog wasn't a bother. 4% said no, it would create more stress being able to take care of the dog, plus coursework. And 4% gave a flat-out answer of no, with no reasoning. And I do agree with the 4% that said no because of the coursework, but I do think that as a college student, as an adult, you should be able to make that decision if you are responsible enough to take care of a dog, plus the schoolwork, and if you are an athlete with your away games and your practices and whatnot, and if you're in clubs, you should be able to figure it out if you do need that dog, or cat, or whatever it is. And I was also reading a website, it's called esadoctors.com, and it was talking about how the rules went with public housing and whatnot, and it stated that housing providers can refuse to accommodate animals that pose a direct threat to safety and health of others, or if the animal is destructive to public property. These refusals should be based on objective evidence about the actual conduct of the specific animal, not the animal's size, weight, or breed. Exclusion of ESA cannot be made based on fear or mere speculation on the part of the housing providers. So this is basically just stating that if the dog or cat or animal is a bother, or it's destructive, it should not be allowed. But until then, any animal of any size, shape, or color, no discrimination of animals, should be made, their decision should not be made based on those facts. And in some schools, actually, they offer animal daycare, but it is limited per week. You have a certain amount of hours that you can put your animal in daycare, so people do not take advantage of that. And I do think that it is a very good thing that students are going to be challenged in that way, that they do have something that needs their attention and care as much as anything else would, as much as your schoolwork or as much as a sport may require it. And I do think that's sort of an out for some people with their depression and anxiety, because I know that as a college student athlete, I would love having a dog here. It would definitely make my anxiety levels go down, but right now I know that the responsible decision is that I am not ready to have a dog, because I don't have the time and I don't have the energy to sit there and train a puppy. So if I did get a dog, it would probably be my dog from home, but getting a newborn puppy would not be something that I would be able to do right now. And I do think that that is part of the growing up process. And if you have a legitimate reason, I do think that it could be very beneficial to you in more ways than one to be able to have an animal on campus that needs just as much attention and loyalty as you do, as someone going through something like anxiety and depression. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you do see this in a different light if you didn't agree with me before. Thank you.